Welcome to Long Story Short. Today we are dissecting Amy Tan's 1989 masterpiece, The Joy Luck Club, a novel that redefined contemporary Asian American literature through its deeply emotional exploration of generational trauma and the complex bonds between immigrant mothers and their American-born daughters. Ugh. Imagine surviving the absolute horrors of war-torn China, where you were forced to abandon your own babies on the side of a road just to save their lives. You build a completely new life in San Francisco and give your new American daughter every single possible advantage, but instead of gratitude, she feels suffocated by your expectations and embarrassed by your culture. She believes you are a controlling tyrant, and you believe she is throwing away her potential. That is the heartbreaking and psychological reality for the women of the Joy Luck Club. This book is not just a collection of family drama stories. It is a profound study of cultural translation and the terrifying realization that love can often look like cruelty when it is spoken in a language the other person does not understand. Long story short, The Joy Luck Club is a searing examination of the ghosts of our ancestors and a beautiful testament to the idea that you can never truly know yourself until you know the sacrifices of the woman who gave you life. Let us set the scene. In San Francisco in the 1980s. The story begins with Jingmei, who goes by the American name June, taking her recently deceased mother's seat at a Mahjong table. Her mother, Su Yuan Wu, was the founder of the Joy Luck Club, which is a group of 4 Chinese immigrant women who meet to play games and invest in the stock market and share their hidden histories. June is a direct character foil to her mother. While Su Yuan was a woman of fierce ambition who survived the Japanese invasion of Kuilin by sheer force of will, June is a modern woman who constantly settles for mediocrity and feels she can never measure up to her mother's impossible standards. Clears throat. At the table, the other 3 mothers reveal a shocking secret to June. Su Yuan's twin baby girls, who she was forced to abandon in China decades ago, are actually still alive, and they have been searching for their mother. The aunties give June a ticket to China and tell her she must go and tell her half-sisters about the incredible life of the mother they never knew. The plot is structured like a game of Mahjong, divided into 4 parts, with 4 stories each weaving between the traumatic pasts of the mothers in China and the modern struggles of their daughters in America. We meet Lindo Zhang, who was forced into a miserable arranged marriage as a child, but cleverly tricked her awful mother-in-law into releasing her from the contract. Lindo's daughter Waverly is a former chess prodigy who uses her mother's strategies to win at life, but constantly battles Lindo for psychological dominance. We also meet Anne Mei Shu, whose mother was forced to become the 4th concubine of a wealthy man and eventually committed suicide to ensure Anne Mei would have a better future. Anne Mei's daughter Rose is currently paralyzed by indecision in a failing marriage to a wealthy white man, unable to find her own voice. Finally, we have Ying Ying St. Clair, who lost her true spirit after a traumatic marriage to a cruel man in China. Her daughter Lena is now trapped in an emotionally abusive marriage where everything is split exactly down the middle, but nothing is truly shared. In every single pairing, the mothers watch in agony as their daughters repeat different versions of the exact same mistakes they made back in China, proving that trauma is inherited even when it is not spoken out loud. The cultural disconnect between the generations is best illustrated by the language barrier. The mothers speak in broken English and the daughters speak almost no Chinese, causing massive misunderstandings that last for decades. June remembers a disastrous piano recital from her childhood where she completely humiliated her parents by playing the wrong notes on purpose. Her mother had traded house cleaning services just so June could take lessons, hoping she would become a famous child prodigy. When June screamed that she wished she were dead like the babies in China, Su Yuan's spirit was completely broken and she never mentioned the piano again. This single argument created an invisible wall of resentment that lasted until Su Yuan's death. Years later, Su Yuan gives the old piano to June as a peace offering, calling it a gift for a daughter who has a natural talent. June eventually plays the piano and discovers that 2 pieces of music she thought were entirely different are actually 2 halves of the exact same song. One is called Pleading Child and the other is called Perfectly Contented. This represents her ultimate realization that the trauma of her childhood and the peace of her adulthood are two necessary sides of the exact same life. If Amy Tan's intricate and emotionally resonant 1989 prose feels overwhelming, and you want to truly understand the generational themes of the text, you can get the full audiobook entirely for free by starting an Audible trial with my link in the description below. Listening to the original text is the absolute best way to grasp the deeply moving value proposition of this book. Now, let us examine the resolution of these conflicts and the ultimate journey back to the homeland. Throughout the novel, the daughters slowly begin to understand the hidden strength of their mothers. Rose finally finds her voice and demands the house from her cheating husband, drawing on the fierce spirit of her grandmother who swallowed opium. Waverly finally stops fighting Lindo and realizes that her mother is not a terrifying dragon, but an old woman waiting to be loved. Lena breaks the physical and emotional barriers in her home, realizing that her mother, Ying Ying, deliberately broke a wobbly table to show her that a weak foundation will eventually collapse. But the ultimate emotional climax belongs to June. June travels to Shanghai to meet her long-lost sisters, fearing that she does not know enough about Su Yuan to properly honor her memory. When she arrives and embraces her sisters, she looks at a Polaroid photograph of the three of them together. In that exact moment, she realizes that her mother's face is literally reflected in their combined features. She finally understands that her mother's long-cherished wish has been fulfilled and that the spirit of Su Yuan is alive inside of her. If you want to absolutely dominate your AP literature exam, you need to weave these specific foundational symbols into your final essays. First, we have the Mahjong table. Mahjong is a complex game of strategy and chance that requires 4 players to make a complete set. The table represents the interconnected community of the women and their shared cultural history. When June takes her mother's seat at the east corner, it symbolizes her acceptance of her heritage and her willingness to finally participate in the game of her family's legacy. Second, you must discuss the swan feather. The novel begins with a parable about a woman who brings a single swan feather from China to America. The feather represents the pure and uncorrupted hopes that the mothers had for their daughters before the harsh realities of the American culture clash complicated everything. It symbolizes the weightless but powerful nature of a mother's good intentions. Finally, the symbol of the Jade pendant. Su Yuan gives June a jade pendant that she calls her life's importance. Initially, June thinks it is ugly and wears it out of guilt. But after her mother dies, she realizes that the jade represents the enduring and hard-won wisdom of her Chinese heritage. It symbolizes the spiritual inheritance that cannot be bought or sold, but must be worn over the heart. If you have a paper or a test coming up, watching a summary gets you the plot, but reading Amy Tan's actual prose is where you master the material. You can grab the physical copy on Amazon or get the audiobook completely for free with an Audible trial using the links in the description below. That is the long story short. Please like and subscribe for more literature breakdowns. See you in the next one.